Hey, this is JD. Welcome to my channel. Let me see if I can get this name right. Bob Tassione. There, Bob, you can comment on that. So, anyway, he's a brilliant clock and watchmaker who I've connected with. You got to go check out his channel. Just Google Bob Tassione and watchmaking, and you'll get him right away. So let's start putting this watch together. I'm going to do it in higher speed, and I'm going to probably do a dub over. But anyway, let's put this watch together. It's ready. All right, we're starting the rebuild. There's the Myers number 58 movement holder. So I put the main plate back in the watch here. And what I'm going to do is put all the wheel trains in. Now, if you can remember, the actual jewel for this escapement wheel was replaced, so this escapement wheel fits in the slot nicely, and I'm putting in all the other wheels, the center wheel, the intermediate wheel, the seconds hand wheel. So I've lubricated the balance, the mainspring barrel, and I'm putting the plate in. I was a little confused putting this plate in because I was like, okay, I know where the pivots go, and I can see where the screw holes are, but what the hell's going on here? So it was confusing the heck out of me, more than usual. So I had to go and adjust this a bit to see if I could get it to drop down. So once I did, everything was fine. I dropped it down, and then I had to tweak the wheels to get the pivots to fit into the jewel holes. This is pretty common to have to do this. It's nice that this is a 3/4 plate movement. It's not as difficult as it is when a full plate movement. And so I do this, and then I just move one of the outside gears to see if the escapement wheel moved. I was having it snug up or tighten up way too much, so I did end up putting a really small double fold shim inside that plate, just to rise it up just a bit, because the new jewel I put in, and you saw that in the video, the new jewel I put in was just a little bit too high, and I'm not sure how else I could have fixed that. I think putting a very small shim and razor blading the material out was the best option here. It virtually moves the plate up ever so slightly, and it's a good option. So here I'm oiling the setting mechanisms and getting it all set for the main plate here, which is where it goes over the center wheel, the mainspring barrel, and there were no issues here at all. I just screwed it down and put in the ratchet wheel and put in the other wheels and get it ready for servicing. See, I moved everything again just to make sure everything still moves. And this is what you do: a little oil on this wheel. So, and this is called the winding wheel, although I've heard it be called the transmission wheel as well, which is a crazy name. I think one of the really old books I have called it a transmission wheel. So the winding wheel screw tightens backwards, so it's left to tighten it. So here I'm tightening it and then letting the train run to make sure it's good. So here I've got 9415 gel, and I'm putting it on some of the feet of the escapement wheel to allow it to transfer to the pallet fork, and it gives me the right lubrication, the right level of lubrication. And so that was done. And what am I doing here? Yeah, put the pallet fork in again. Put the bridge over the pallet fork. Make sure there's still freedom of movement once you get the bridge in. Otherwise, you can crush the pivot, and you don't want to do that. So I've got the bridge in place here. It sitting down nicely. And then I just basically take the screws. I hold the bridge down while I put the screws in, and that way it doesn't jump up. And then test the pallet fork again and put the other screw in. So always screw the plates in, do a test, make sure everything works, and then screw it in tighter. And that's how you do it. So this is fundamentally the assembly of this pocket watch. Now we're going to go back to normal speed to put a little bit of power on it. Check the pallet fork snaps back and forth nicely. And so as you can see, I ran the train, so it's running really well. I have reassembled the watch, and it's ready to go. It's ready for the balance to go in. and then the rest of the assembly should be pretty easy. So let's try that out. Oh, the other thing I did is I put this 9415 gel on every second foot of the escapement wheel. So I read that in Boulevard School of Watchmaking and Chicago School of Watchmaking, and they said don't put it on the stones of the pallet fork, put it on the feet of the escapement wheel. Just a hint. And now it's time to do some praying as I grab this escapement. Put my glove on first, just hang on a second. Now it's time to put the balance in, and I set the pallet fork up towards the center wheel, and then I can rotate the balance in so the impulse jewel fits into the mouth of the balance nicely. And so that's basically how I set this up, and it went in fairly good. I'm always trying to make sure that the balance cock doesn't fall out, because that would be a disaster as the hairspring would stretch. So I always keep a finger on the edge, like that. As you can see that my finger is there just to make sure it doesn't jump when I'm touching it. Fingers on the edge. I've never had one do that, but I fear it. So, and there, and just moving the balance around until the pivots find home. And there we go. I think I've got it set here. And there it is, running. Cool. All right, it's ticking, which is really good. That's the first thing you need it to do. And then we will check its bead error. And I may just let it run overnight before I do the bead error test on it, just to let it work itself in. So let me just get the screw out here. And I'll check the amplitude as well to make sure we've got a decent amplitude running on this watch. And it is running. That's a really good thing, because you don't know when you put these things together. At the very last minute, the pallet fork was swinging back and forth, which is always a good sign, but you just never know. I'm sure you guys out there that are watchmakers have done this a million times, put the watch together and all of a sudden it wasn't running. It's like, and then you start to cry, right? So there we go. Tighten that down, and then I've got a little bit of a wind on here. I'm not sure if I should put more on there or not, but there we go. That's pretty good right there. So there we go. Movement is running. So now I'm going to make the video. So there it is. It's running, it's working, it's really good. Looks like it's running pretty strong too. I'm looking forward to testing it. I will let that run for a day so it can work itself in before I deal with bead error. If the bead error is off, I don't want to do that now. I want to wait, let it work itself in. And you saw all the work I had to do on this watch. The major thing was the cracked jewel that I had to replace. The other thing I did, and let me tell you, when I put the plate down here on the side, right there, I put the smallest little shim on the edge right in there, very, very small. And that's because when I screwed the plate down, it hampered the escapement wheel ever so slightly. So I just took a small piece of watchmaking paper, and you know how thin that is. I folded it over, once over, and that's how thick the shim was. And I took that shim and I put it just right under where that screw is, and it's flat, and you can still see a little tiny piece of the shim right there, right? So not much of a shim at all, so it's not going to affect the angle or anything, but it was necessary. And it was necessary because the jewel I put in obviously was ever so slightly higher than the other one, so there's no way I can think of moving it lower unless I took the whole damn thing apart again and tried to make that hole a little bit bigger on the bottom on the other side of this movement, which doesn't make any sense. So shimming is a common thing to do in watchmaking. Usually when you shim, you're doing it with the balance. If I shim with the balance, and I have to shim with the balance after adjusting a new balance staff, I'll put a shim in the front and the back where the screw is. That way it's flat and I don't have an issue with there being an angle between where the pivot goes through and the actual jewel hole. I haven't had the shim a balance in a long time, and I have very, very rarely had the shim a plate, especially over an escapement wheel. But I had to burnish in that jewel I got, and this is an excellent solution. So it was running free and nicely after that. So it's running. It seems to be running pretty powerfully right now. So a shout out to Wayne. This is Wayne's watch. Hopefully you enjoyed this particular video. I sped a lot of it up, and then a shout out to Bob Tassion. He told me how to say the name, and he has a course online called LearnTimeOnline.com. LearnTimeOnline.com, and I learned probably most of my lathe work from Bob. So he's a very good guy. I had a great talk with him on the weekend. Just an excellent guy. So he knows his stuff. He's a professional watchmaker, and he'll help you. So go get his courses. They're brilliant. So that's it for this video, and I'll catch you next time. Stay safe. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel and hit like. I want to get more views on these watchmaking videos because they're kind of cool. So take care.